Hello and welcome to my new video. This is Shadow of the Beast on the Sega Mega Drive / Genesis. I originally had this game on the Commodore Amiga, and it caused quite a stir when it came out, due to the excellent graphics and soundtrack that it had with it. On the Mega Drive, it doesn't quite have the same impact. The graphics aren't quite as good, and the soundtrack certainly isn't as good. It was one of those games that really to actually enjoy Shadow of the Beast at its best, you had to play it on the Amiga. But that's not to say that this is a rubbish game, because it isn't by any stretch of the imagination. It's just remarkably tough, which you wouldn't think so really, considering that the Mega Drive controller is probably more suited to this type of game. But the problem tends to be that the character that you're playing, when you go to hit one of the bad guys, you essentially have to make sure that you're pretty spot on. The collision detection is refined really down to the minutest pixel, and the weird thing is, it's not always, well, certainly it came across to me playing this, that it wasn't always where you would think it would be. I'm trying to explain what I mean by that. It's as though sometimes it's a pixel or two off where you would expect it to be, and consequently when you first play the game you tend to get hit by just about everything until you get used to it. It's kind of weird, and I seem to recall it being a little bit like that in the Amiga game as well, so I can't put it down to this version of the game. Interestingly enough though, there was an issue with the NTSC version of the game, whereby there was something wrong with the speed, as I understand, and it rendered the difficulty far more difficult than the PAL version, and to the point where, as I understand it, it was virtually impossible to complete the game. Now, having played the PAL version of this, this is the PAL version I'm playing in this review, I can well believe that, you know, if that was the case, I can well believe it would be nigh on impossible to complete, because this is an exceptionally difficult game as it is. I wouldn't so much go as far as to say it was old school, because it's kind of a weird game. You don't, as you're playing through the game, you come across quite a huge variety of bad guys, but the levels themselves, they don't tend to build towards an end of level boss like you've just seen here. I mean, you might describe that as some sort of boss battle, but it doesn't signify the end of the level. There aren't any levels as such, if that makes any sense. You kind of just roam around the world beating everything up that you come across, or avoiding traps and obstacles and so on and so forth. There isn't really what I would describe as a level structure to the game, and that sort of, I guess that's kind of what makes the game more difficult. I didn't come across any type of save either, or password system. It was kind of when you died and you run out, you know, when you died, you went back to the beginning. I mean, I edited this video with that other boss battle where I died. I had to play it all the way back through to get there again, and that can be annoying, but it was sort of par for the course, I suppose, for these type of games. It artificially inflates the difficulty level if you don't have continues. You can pick up power-ups, certainly for your health, and you can pick up power-ups for your attacks as well. I mean, I was using to defeat that end of level. Well, I say end of level bad guy. It wasn't really that boss battle. I had to use a power up. You can't. Well, I mean, I certainly couldn't defeat him without the power up. But unfortunately, they don't tend to last forever, and that becomes a bit of a bitter blow. But I think the problem would be if you had the power up like that and it ran with you for the rest of the game, you could probably complete the game relatively easily. And in that sense, I think that Shadow of the Beast becomes very much it becomes what I would describe as being a bit of a Marmite type game. It's one of those you're either going to love this type of game or you're going to detest it. I personally love it, and I think because I played it back in the day when it came out on the Amiga, this type of gameplay wasn't as strange as it is to somebody today playing a game like this. You know, today people would be like, "Oh, there's no save, there's no password." I mean, you know, this is terrible. This is no good. But back then, that wasn't an uncommon thing. If you remember back to Sonic the Hedgehog, there was no save or password system there. When you died, it was all the way back to the beginning. And this really just sort of followed that kind of a trend. It's unusual by today's standards, but set in its own time, it certainly wasn't anything unusual at all. And in spite of its difficulty, I still think it's a really good game. And that's got to be the fastest snail in the universe there. I always find that quite amusing. It's just this ridiculously fast snail. Yeah. Obviously, yeah, nothing else to say on that one. But, yeah, I mean, what I like about the game is there's a lot of imagination with the bad guys in the game as well. You know, you're not facing legions of the same thing over and over again. There's quite a lot of imagination, and it makes you want to play the game, makes you want to get further and further into it. To me, that's the addictive quality of it. It's one of those games where you really have to try and memorize what's coming next, and yeah, sort of take it from there, really. You know, memory is going to be what assists you most of all in this game, and I kind of like the weirdness of it too. I mean, here you are, you think it's set in a you know, some sort of ancient fantasy world, and they have an airship flying in the sky in the background. It's quite a unique world that it was set into, and yeah, just a bizarre game. Really, really bizarre game, but nevertheless, I found it almost compelling to play. You know, despite the fact that it would frustrate the hell out of me, I just wanted to go back and I wanted to play the game over and over again. I always wanted to just get that bit further each time. I wasn't ever just going to accept death and, oh, I'll never get past this bit. There was always something there to draw me back into it. Yeah. It does have a sequel, which I'm going to be putting a review up for that tomorrow, and the sequel, as you'll see, has quite a different look and feel to it. I'm not going to say which one I prefer now, I'll leave that for the review tomorrow, but it's certainly strange. it's a shame really that these type of games don't get made anymore. But today's gaming audience just wouldn't be able to tolerate a game like this. I mean, I'm going off the reception that the War of the Worlds game got that was available to download off the Xbox Live Marketplace. And the number of people that moaned about how difficult it was and how unfair it was. And I just think back to games like this, and I think back to those type of trial and error games that were par for the course back in the 16-bit days. You know, War of the Worlds plays very, very much like Prince of Persia did. You have to memorise what happens in each bit. You know, kind of like this. You know, you're not going to get very far just, you know, just hoping to just pile through each section. And I just think it's how gaming tolerances have changed. You know, going back and playing something like this is probably more, I would say, probably more of a gaming experience, more of a pleasant gaming experience for somebody who's been through this type of scenario before, rather than somebody who's new to it. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, if that makes any sense. But anyway, that is Shadow of the Beast on the Sega Mega Drive. Thank you for watching this video, and please stay tuned to my channel for more videos coming in the near future. Thank you very much.